Linda Smith, great to see you. She says, rightly dividing the word. That's right. That's right. Now, all this stuff we're talking about, you would not be able to come to appreciate the reason that this book exists, empowered by his grace. You wouldn't be able to really see for yourself identification unless you also acknowledge that what Paul taught is completely different than everybody else. The unique apostleship of Paul. And that for anybody who's new, that's one of the reasons why we are all here together. We've all come to acknowledge the necessity to rightly divide the word of truth in 2 Timothy 2:15, which is to reckon distinctions that matter, the distinctions between Israel and the body of Christ today, between prophecy and what Paul calls mystery. To see that, because, Paul's saying, for example, that he says my gospel 3 times in his epistles. Why would he say that if he was teaching the same thing as everybody else? That reminds me, I have my outline is done for the Shorewood Zoom talk, which is a week from Friday. On September the 13th. I'm going to do the Shorewood Zoom talk on Friday, September the 13th. That outline is already done. It's totally epic. I would invite everybody to come join also. If you want, when we get closer to it, I'll just share my email address, and I'll forward the link to some of you. But what I'm going to talk about is, I'm going to tell an old story of an old grace story when Stam came to my church, and he actually debated a couple of other pastors on water baptism. It's just, so this was Monday. This was on a Saturday, November 1971, I think. And they had 3 2-hour sessions, and I listened to, and I had these cassette tapes for years. I was obsessed about them, and I listened to them all over again and took copious notes and transcribed much of what was said. And so I'm going to go through that debate. It's totally different, and it should be it really should be epic. I share that because I am still kind of buzzing over a lot of the stuff that Stam had said about rightly dividing. There was one thing and I'll share some highlights here. I loved what he said about the Great Commission. At one point he said, in this debate, Stam said, there needs to be a rereading of the Great Commission. And he said, it doesn't say one word about the death of Christ for salvation. It doesn't say one word about the gospel of the grace of God. It doesn't say that salvation is by the grace of God without works. It doesn't say one thing about going to heaven or a heavenly position. It doesn't say one thing about the body of Christ. And he says, if I'm actually working under the Great Commission today, almost all of my efforts would be completely emaciated.